Hey guys, it's Andrea or Miss Latson or Miss Bass Latson, whichever one you want to call. Um, as promised, I said I would do a video tutorial where we left off on Photoshop, and I'm also going to do one on Dreamweaver as well. Um, I talked to some of you guys after class, and I know that some of the things that were introduced you guys hadn't been introduced to in your other classes or your former graphics classes, such as uh, the new panels, layer count panels, and stuff like that. So we're going to go over that more so that you guys can see it and see how to work within those panels and the benefits. Also, a couple of things. It is Sunday, yay, which is cool, but I have a couple of interruptions that could happen. One, it's Sunday and my kids are home. My husband's holding down the fort at the moment. However, just in case later on a kid knocks on the door or something like that, or you hear a little voice, I just want to let you know what that was. Don't freak out. It's a little me. Um, there's a new microphone that I'm trying out, so I'm not sure of. Uh, well, it's a different microphone, I should say. So I'm hoping the sound quality on that is good. I tested it beforehand, and it seemed pretty okay, but just in case, that's the other thing. And then this is Captivate. It's a new version of Captivate. As I told you, CS6. It's kind of new to me with Photoshop and the whole suite. And so is this new version of Captivate. So I'm hoping all of the hiccups are bumped out, but if not, those are just some of the things that that could potentially be an issue while we're doing this. All right, let's get started in any event. All right, so right now we're currently in Photoshop. And inside of Photoshop, I showed you guys the panel. A lot of you worked with Photoshop before. Some of you hadn't. For those of you who haven't, hopefully this video helps to clear up some of that confusion. Okay. Um, this is my tool panel. I prefer to work in a tool panel where I can see two rows of tools as opposed to one. Some people prefer the one, and that's fine. But to change it, I'm just going to hit these two double arrows. If I click on them, then I can change my tool panel into two. Alright, so that's one. That's how I like my tool panel set up. Also, just in case, I have, in case I want to adjust my windows, like if your windows don't look like mine, if you go up to your panel, you guys won't see at the moment because let me see if I can change this application bar. Okay, how about, let's see. This might be one of those issues I just talked about. Let's see if I can pull. Alright. Okay. Up here in my panel, we're having a technical difficulty at the moment. Check something. Hang tight, guys. Hang tight. Okay. Well, this is your panel up here. I know you can half see it because I'm looking at it, but Photoshop file, edit, image, layer, type, select, filter, 3D, view, window, help. If I say go up to your menu on your title bar, that's what I'm talking about, okay? All right, however, I have to move it because in order for you guys to see when I get into the effects panel, it's going to have to be positioned down here. All right. All right, so I'm going to go up to window, and I'm going to go to, and like I said, I know you guys can't see the top of it, but that was the bar that I just showed you. Okay, all the way up at the very top is your file menu. Okay, so I'm going to go to window, workspace, and I'm just going to go to reset essentials. So right now, see how it says the check mark is at essentials, and it's in default. I want to go to reset essentials. Okay, and then now your workspace should look just like mine, which is cool. All right, we're going to build a web page. Standard web page for today is 1024 by 768. Okay. Just really quick for those of you who don't know Photoshop. Again, this is your tool panel. I'm going to make mine into two because I like the two rows. This right here is your object menu. So it changes with depending on which tool you have selected. Like right now I have the type tool and it changed to the type options. Okay. When I was at the move tool, it changes to the move tool options. So it'll change depending on which tool you guys have activated. Okay, that's important to know. And that's what that's for. Cool, cool. All right, over here, this is your color panel. These are called panels. Back in the day, they were called palettes, but somewhere in between, Photoshop decided, hey, you know what? It sounds more professional to be panel than palette. So that's how they switched it. But you will hear these terms interchangeably used, panel and palette. Just know, if you're a panel, this is what they're talking about. If you're palette, this is what they're talking about. But over here is your panels, your color panels, your swatches panel. Then you have adjustments and styles. You have your layers. Channels we're not really going to get into, and paths we probably won't get into at all. Okay, not for this class. When you take a graphics class, or those of you who have taken graphics classes, you guys have already went over that. All right, so now I'm going to go to File. Again, this is up at the top of the menu. So I'm in the File, and I'm going to go to New. I think I'm going to go File, New. Okay. All right, then instantly your dialog box comes up for whatever options you want to choose. I choose to name it here. Now, just remember, if I'm naming it here, that does not mean I saved it under that name at all. All it is a name that's set up, okay? I'm going to go to name, and I'm going to make this name, let's say, web mock-up demo. Alright, now Photoshop has many presets. If I go to the preset menu, you have the default Photoshop size, US paper, international paper photo. The one that we're interested in is web, but if you were creating later on for mobile devices or film and video, you can do those. You can also do custom. We're going to do web for these purposes. Okay, and then once you choose web, you'll see that a size and some other options were automatically generated. So automatically it generated the pixels because the web reads in pixels. Okay. Inches are what's used for print, and there are other measurements also as well used for print. But for what we're going to use, we want pixels. Okay, for web is pixels. The default is 800 by 600. We can do 800 by 600, but in this dialog box, it's also 1024 by 768. What we did in class, we set it up at 1024 by 768, so I'm going to do that same. Okay. And then the resolution should always be 72 whenever you're creating anything that's web-based or anything that's going to be seen pixel-based. So on a monitor, projector, and things like that. And your RGB color mode is the color mode that you want set for anything that you do for web. Okay, background contents, this just means we can change the color of the default background, because always defaults to black. You can go in here and you can change it to background color, or you can make it transparent. Transparent are the little squares and pixels. I actually prefer sometimes to work in transparent, because then it reminds me to put a background back there. But for this, I'll go ahead and do white, and then we'll just go ahead and change it out. And if you don't see all those options, like the options that are down at the bottom, there's a little triangle here at advanced. You click it, and then you'll get your other options. So here you don't have options. If yours looks like this, click it, and you have other options. We're not going to really work in this, but just in case, color profile. This area we're not using for this class, but let's say if we would have color calibrated our monitor, meaning if we were to set up our monitor to where we wanted whatever we printed to look like what's on our monitor, we would set up a profile for that. That's another class, and that's not what we're going to get into. I'm just letting you know for your information, just so that you know. You can also choose a pixel aspect ratio. Yours should say square pixels, because that's what we're reading in. Okay. All right. You can also save this preset. If you know that this is a preset that you're going to use quite often, then you can save it. And then if you save it, you know, the dialog box will come up to where you can save it and you can save everything in it. We're not, because we don't, since we didn't really change anything, everything's set at the default. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as is, and I'm going to press OK. Once I press OK, I'll see this white background. And this is what I was talking about. We could have changed. We could have made it transparent. Transparent looks just like, hold on, let me see. Oh, of course I can't. Hold on. Alright. Transparent looks just like this. This is the transparent background. What it's saying is there's really nothing underneath. It's just the squares and white boxes and squares and white boxes. And this is just letting you know that you're in a transparent background. This will become important later on. It also becomes important if you don't want anything in the background of a website that you are, when you slice up your page. Let's say you had a logo, and the logo had an interesting shape, but you didn't want any color to be behind that logo. You would make sure that it's set against a transparent background. All right? That's transparent. All right, I'm going to just delete that because I don't need that layer. Okay, to delete a layer, to make a new layer, like I did before, you just pretty much click on the new layer icon at the bottom. It'll say create new layer, and then the new layer comes up. To delete the new layer, you can either select the trash can and it says delete new layer. I'm going to say no because I want to do it a different way. Or you can grab the layer, grab it, and just drag it down to the trash can and it just deletes without asking me any questions. Okay. Also over here, usually yours should look like black and white if you haven't used Photoshop before. That's the default. Right now mine has color in it because I played with color. But if I didn't want any color, I would just pretty much have it at the default. And all I have to do, this down here is the default color swatches. And you just click it and it shows you the default. There's a set foreground color, which is black, a set background color, which is white. Okay, these are your default Photoshop colors. In the tools we're concerned with is the move tool. This is this tool right here with the arrow and kind of like the crosshatch. The selection tool. Anytime you see a tool and it has these little arrows, that's letting you know that there are more tools available. Okay. Then we have the lasso tool. More tools are available inside of that. Polygon lasso, magnetic lasso. These are your selection tools. You have the quick selection and the magic wand tool. These are really come in handy when you want to extract an image from its background or select specific parts of an image. Okay. We have the slice tool, which we're going to get really into. The crop tool. Yours is probably like this, and it shows you the crop tool. Okay, this is the crop tool, which allows you to crop out. Perspective crop tool we're really not going to get into, but it kind of lets you crop an image with perspective in mind. It's kind of cool. Slice tool, we are going to get into that because this is how we slice out the images of our web page that we want to put in Dreamweaver or on the website. And the slice select tool. This also gives you, this is how you are able to select specific slices. Okay, and we'll get into that. Eyedropper tool, love it. One of my favorite tools because it's how you sample color. We're not going to mess with the 3D material eyedropper tool, but it's kind of cool. Color sampler tool, we're not going to mess with in this. If you take a graphics class, you really should be going into that. But for the purposes of this web class, we're not really going to go into that. The ruler tool, we are going to talk about and we are going to use. Love this tool. It's pretty cool. Note tool and the 1, 2, 3 count tool also comes in handy, but we're not going to go into that. Only tools we're really going to go into in this panel is the eyedropper tool, maybe, and no, we will be going to eyedropper tool and the ruler tool. Okay, so those are only two tools for this class we'll be concerned with. And like I said, in a graphics class, we get into all those tools, but for this purposes, that's it. This is a spot healing brush tool. We're not going to get into any of these tools, but they're here. Spot healing brush, patch tool, content, aware move tool, and a red eye tool. All awesome tools for you guys to check out on your own, but we're not going to for this class. We don't need them. The brush tool, pencil tool, color replacement tool, mixer brush tool. Brush tool just depends on what we're doing. We may get into that just a little bit, but not really for the purposes of this class. It just depends on making this website from scratch. So it depends on what techniques. Sorry, I had to drink water. It depends on what technique that we want to use, and the pencil tool as well. Okay. Your stamp tools, clone stamp and pattern stamp. We're really not going to get into those, but these are really, really cool tools for you guys to check out. History brush tool and art history brush tools. These are awesome tools for you guys to use who are going to progress within this field or the graphics field. I don't think we're really going to get into them, but they're awesome tools. Just know they're there. Eraser tool, background eraser tool, and magic eraser tool. These are cool tools we're not going to use. I'm a masker myself. I mask things out more so than I erase, because when you use either one of these tools, you are erasing the pixels of your image, which means if you were to erase and then show your client, so you erase, you save it, you close Photoshop, you close your document, you show your client says, oh, you know what, can you bring back the sun that you took out of this picture? Can you bring back that spark? Well, you've actually erased it. You lost it. That information is gone. All those pixels have gone to La La Land because they're kind of trashed at that point. So there's nothing you can do to bring them back. So that's why I use masking. And masking is much better. Those of you who know about graphic design should know about masking and the benefits of it. But it's so much better. Okay? This one we went over a little bit in class. The gradient tool, you have the paint bucket tool and the 3D material drop tool. We're not going to mess with 3D material drop tool. I barely mess with the paint bucket tool, but we might. Just depends. And the gradient tool, I always use whenever I'm doing a background that I want to do a subtle gradient to. We're not going to get into the blur tool, sharpen tool, smudge tool, but these tools are here. And they do exactly what they say. Blur blurs out your image, sharpens it up, and smudges and moves the pixels over so that so you can get an interesting image. Dodge, burn, and sponge we're not going to mess with, but they're kind of cool. Let's see. Pen tool, we might get into a little bit, not sure, because I have no idea of what we're really going to design, but I doubt it, actually, because I think I'm just going to do squares and rectangles and circles. So we're probably not going to get into that tool, but the pen tool, just know this is here and worthy of you guys checking out. Type tool we will get into. We're really only going to use the horizontal type tool, but there's the vertical type tool, horizontal type mask tool, which is cool, and a vertical type mask tool is also cool. Let's see, path selection tool and direct selection tool. Nope, we're not really going to get into those, but definitely worth checking out. And those of you who've done Illustrator before as well, know this tool works really, really well with the pen tool and a lot of selection objects that you have. This tool we are going to get into the rectangle tool. We will be using round the rectangle tool. We will be using ellipse tool. We probably will be using polygon tool, not sure. Line tool maybe, and custom shape tool. It's kind of cool. I'll show you guys that just for the fun of it because I like it. Okay, so we will get into that. The hand tool. This is a tool that you can, this is how you move around on your page. We have the hand tool and the rotate view tool. The hand tool you'll probably be using. The rotate view tool can be helpful. It annoys me a lot, but it can be a helpful tool to use where you can rotate your picture and see what it looks like and how it looks. And then we have the zoom tool, and this tool zooms in or magnifies a certain part of the image. There are two ways, and when we use the tool we'll get into, but see how the menu changes the scrubby zoom. That kind of zooms everything all at once on your picture. I usually uncheck that and do the zoom tool sort of the original way where I can just zoom in on the area, draw that square out, and zoom it in. But you guys see that in action later, okay? And again, we have the foreground and background colors. We have your default. If you want to swap these colors, you click on this arrow and it'll swap it. See how it swapped from white to black, or from black as the foreground color, white is the background color. I swapped it to make white the foreground color and black the background color. This is your quick mask edit mode. We won't be getting into that, but that's kind of cool to know as well. And then your standard screen modes. This is how you switch from standard screen to full screen with menu bar and full screen mode. Just kind of like presentation mode, to where you would switch to see what your final project looks like without the rulers and the menus and stuff like that in the background. Okay, so those are the quick history of the tool panel. And then we have over here, mine is showing a ruler. If yours is not showing a ruler, you can go up to view and click on rulers and it'll show it. Like if I unclick rulers, my rulers go away. If I go back to view rulers, my rulers come back. Okay. All right. Ours should be set at pixels, but just in case it's not, if you right click anywhere inside of your rulers menu, you will be able to get a menu that'll have pixels, which is the measurement that we want to use. So if mine was set at inches like this, I want to right click inside and switch it to pixels. Okay. In working in Photoshop with this mode, sometimes it's really easy for this 0. See how it's 0 and it's lined up on the left side, and 0 is lined up on the right. But let's suppose you've been doing so much stuff and you kind of have your menu just all over the place. Let's suppose, like I just moved this. Well, now see how my 0, all I did was I drug out the ruler from the corner. I just click and drag, and I can drag a ruler to be anywhere I want. Okay, but let's suppose I kept resetting my 0 because I'm resetting my measurements and I'm resetting my measurements. To get it to go back the way it's supposed to be, if I just double click, hold on, let me bring it out again. If I double click in this upper right corner, see this little block area? If I just double click, it's called reset the 0, and that's what it's doing. It's resetting the 0 based off of the top left. Based off of the top and the left corner of wherever my image is. See how now my 0s are there. So if I go in again and I bring it, and I've had it to where my ruler's so messed up that my 0's over here and my 0's over here. If I go in here and I click and drag right to the top and let go, my 0s have been reset. Okay, cool little trick, really cool to know. Also, for the purposes of this, for us, we're in the Essentials panel, but there's one more panel that I like to make sure is out because we're going to use it. Okay, so if I go up to Window, I'm going to grab Info. I said one more, I lied, there's more. I want Window, Info, and then I want to go back to Window. I want to grab, where is it? I want to grab, I tell you, now I can't think. I've got Layers Comps. Let me see if there's any more that I want to grab. Let me just check. Maybe styles. I might use styles. Yeah, I'm going to grab styles. Okay. Now, so see how I've altered my panels, and I've added some. Well, what's cool is not only can I add some, I can delete panels. Let's suppose there are panels that I know that I'm not going to use, right? So I have color and swatches. I'm going to use those. Adjustments and styles, I'm going to use those. Layers, I'm going to use. But channels and paths, I'm probably not going to use. So if I don't want those, I know some of you who are, like I said, are already familiar with Adobe programs will pretty much know this. But I can just grab and pull channels out, and paths, I can just grab and pull paths out. Okay. and I can see the X, I can close them. So now channels is gone, path is gone. So now what this does is now I have control over what panels are in and out of my workspace. So I'm not wasting time looking for stuff. So the panels that I have out, I have my history panel. I want that. I have properties panel, which I'm really not going to use. So I'm going to actually grab the properties panel and I'm going to close it. So I took it out. So now right here I have info panel. So I have history, info, layers comp, and I have notes. Notes is how, like, if I have another person working on the project with me, I can add notes to it, like this red is used because of such and such, or this red is just a sample red, or blah blah. I don't want it though. I'm not going to use it, so I'm just going to close it out. So now I have it set up the way I want it. I just want history, info, layers comps, swatches, color, adjustments, styles, layers. Now I'm happy. Okay, so now I have this setup, right? Well, I can save it. So I can go back up to Window, and I can go Window, Workspace, and I can go to New Workspace. I'm going to name this one, let's say, Web. And I'm going to put my name, Andrea. Yeah, since you guys are special, I'm going to put Web Design Class Andrea. Then, like, if I had keyboard shortcuts or menus set up, I could capture those as well. But I don't, so I'm just going to hit save. And now if I go into my window and I go into I go to Window and I go to Workspace. Inside of Window and Workspace, I see Web Design Class Andrea. Well, so that means, oops. Okay, that means if, let's say I go in here and I get kind of crazy and I add like channels panel, and I add navigator panel, and I add brush panel, and I add path panel, and I add, and it's getting so crazy, right? And I add timeline. Okay. So I'm adding all this stuff. Now my workspace is looking crazy. I've added stuff. I've deleted stuff. Let me just say I delete my layers. For some crazy reason, I said, yeah, I don't want layers in there, and I delete swatches. Well, now it's looking kind of crazy, right? My workspace is looking crazy. How am I going to work with this crazy workspace? What I can do is I can go back up to Window. Now, remember, I saved that workspace. So I go to Window, and I go to Workspace, and I click on Reset Web Design Class Andrea, and it cleans it up for me. Now, that's some cool stuff. Okay. Alright, in the process of doing this, I lost my setting. Hold on. I told you guys I'm working with this new version, and so far, I don't know about our union. We're not meshing too well, shall I say? Man, let me see. All right, here we go. All right, so that's pretty much what I want to go over with the workspace for you guys. So now the next lesson we'll start building. Okay, but as far as the workspace, this is pretty much set. This is it. Cool.